Satin has to join.
We can start. Yes, let's go. We're live. Let's go.
All right. So, a very good afternoon and welcome everyone to this wonderful afternoon. And my name is Swati. I represent an organization called 1 Million for a Billion. And we work with young people in India, in the rest of the world on developing human-centered leadership. We are one of those few nonprofits that are accredited by the United Nations. And every year, the best of our projects, social impact projects, which are led by young people, are showcased at the United Nations headquarters in New York. So in the last 4 years, we have worked with about 200 plus young people, and they have done some amazing social impact projects across themes from climate change, technology access to health, education, livelihoods, and so on. So today's chat is being led by Gautam Nambiar, who is the alumnus of the 2020 Future Leaders batch. And he chose the problem of, sports professionals, young sports professionals who are now trying to cope with the pandemic, trying to figure out how to keep their training going, keep their regimen going, because we are living in some unprecedented times. It's a cliche, but it's really, really true. So this is the first talk, the first live chat that we have kicked off. And I'm hoping Gautam will do a whole lot of other interesting and exciting stuff as well. So over to you, Gautam. It's all yours.
Thank you, Ms. Swati, and good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for tuning in on this webinar. My name is Gautam Nambiar. I'm a grade 9 student at the International School, Bangalore, a 1M1B future leader, and I welcome you all to this session of Project Team Me Up. So the topic for today's discussion is what sports teaches us and its relevance in the current pandemic situation. It is my privilege to welcome today's panelists, Dr. Caroline Pascoe, an Olympian and the principal at the International School, Bangalore. Dr. Caroline was a member of the Great Britain Women's Rowing Squad at the 1992 Olympics and an officer in the RAF Volunteer Reserve, who also worked in the Himalayas, leading high-altitude trekking expeditions for schools and other organizations to that region. She was the headmistress of the Truro High School for Girls and is currently serving as the principal of the International School, Bangalore since 2018. Welcome, Dr. Caroline. Next, we have Mrs. Anju Bobby George and Mr. Robert Bobby George. Ms. Anju Bobby George was the only Indian athlete who could secure medals in the World Athletic Championship, the World Athletic Final in long jump. She is the recipient of the Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna, Arjuna Award, Jimmy George Award, Padma Shri, and the list goes on. Ms. Anju was the flag bearer of India in the Athens Olympics of 2004. She also secured medals in the Commonwealth Games, Afro-Asian Games, Asian Games, as well as the World Grand Prix. Mr. Robert Bobby George was a national triple jump champion. He's the youngest recipient of the Dronacharya Award winner, and together they run the Anju Bobby Sports Foundation. Welcome, Ms. Anju Bobby George and Mr. Robert Bobby George. Last but not the least, we have Mr. Ronnie Sehgal. He's the leading sports consultant and the General Secretary of the Indian Paddle Federation, IPF. He's the director of Bulldog Sports Management and a partner in Sports Supply & Co., both of which are instrumental in bringing innovative ideas in sports to the country. Welcome, Mr. Ronnie, to the session. And without further ado, let's begin. Many of us don't know that Dr. Caroline Pascoe, apart from being an educationist, she also has a totally different phase as an Olympian. Over to you, Dr. Caroline, and we would like to hear from you on your success story as an Olympian.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much, Gautam, for inviting me to be part of this webinar. And ironically, on a Saturday afternoon, I normally play golf this afternoon, but I'm quite happy to forgo that and be part of this. Gautam did ask me for some photographs of when I was an Olympian and competing, but as you saw from my introduction, 1992 is quite a long time ago, and there wasn't the social media available then. So all my photographs are in an album in my loft in my house in the UK. But I did manage to find this one, and this was when I won the British National Championship 6 times, and this was in 1986, when I looked a lot younger, where we won in the Cox 4. So my success story as an Olympian, well, I was never destined to be an Olympian, I have to say. And I'd like to thank a few key people along the way that actually steered me in the right direction. But I suppose growing up, I was always tall, always athletic, I was strong. My family didn't really promote sport, but nevertheless, I had a very active lifestyle. So you could say that I did have the sort of innate physical attributes to be good at sport. And Gautam will be let into a secret. I was quite bored at school. I loved going to school. It was my social time. But I was quite frankly academically quite bored, probably because I was lucky in that academics came easily. And I got into so much trouble that the then headmaster said to me, "Look, Caroline, if you don't sort yourself out and find something that you're good at and develop yourself and find your potential, then you're going to have to leave the school." And this was in about grade 8. So what I did was I then took his advice seriously, and I realized that actually in a whole variety of sport, I was particularly good at it. And I had to work at it, but I was nevertheless pretty good at it. So I ended up playing hockey for the Southwest University team. I was a badminton county player. I played tennis. I was very good at a lot of endurance sports. So generally, I found that sport came pretty easy to me. I was extremely competitive, and I really loved the challenge. I loved the camaraderie that you get from sport. I was very much more a team sports person than actually individual, unlike Andrew, an individual sport. I didn't really like the spotlight to be put on me. But what I developed as I went through school and university is that I wanted to always challenge myself physically, and I wanted to know what my limits were. So at university, as I said, I was in the Southwest University hockey team. I was a defender, and I actually broke my nose in an indoor game, and I sort of lost my confidence a little bit in sport. And certainly as you develop in sports, you have to reduce the amount of sports that you do. And so I was always playing hockey, really from about grade 10 onwards. I only chose to concentrate on hockey. But when I broke my nose, someone said to me, "Oh, come down to the river and start rowing. It's really good fun. It's a very social activity. It's outside. It's really, really beneficial." And so what I did was I then went down to the rowing club. And because I was tall and fairly strong, I was well suited to that sport. And in my first year of rowing, there were 4 of us in the crew, and we were the same standard. We had the same values. We had the same ambitions. And it was really there that actually I started to take the sport seriously. And and we realized that actually we did have ability, because we began competing around the UK, and one of the GB coaches spotted 2 of us from the crew and invited us along to British trials. So that was in my last year of university, when I should have been working hard for my academics, but I was also training really hard for the British squad. I then moved to London on purpose, because London seemed to be the hub of where British rowing was, and I began my teaching career. And it was then that I decided to take the big step, and Andrew will probably empathise with me here. There's a very big step from being good at a sport and having national standard records and competing well nationally, to actually taking the step and the leap into becoming internationally competitive. And it was in my first 2 years of teaching that I decided to take that leap. My parents completely were against it. They thought I should grow up and get a job and concentrate on developing my career. But in a way, I wanted to prove to myself and to prove to other people that my choice was right. But it was more about proving things for myself. So I live near the river, and a lot of my training and a lot of my sort of socializing, a lot of my downtime was surrounded by rowing. And it took me 2 years to go from starting rowing to actually being a sort of regular feature of the Great Britain rowing team. And when you enter into an internationally recognised sport, I didn't appreciate at the time how my life would be so controlled. We every so often we'd have a fitness test, and we'd have a lot of physiological testing. So that works out your metabolism, your percentage fat, and all your strength, etc. And so we'd have physiological tests so often, and that would determine your nutrition, whether you needed physio, whether you needed to train more, or whether you needed to. My sort of area to always develop was flexibility. I'm not the most flexible person, but then my stamina was exceptional. So we were all given areas to focus on. But during most of my 6 year or my 4 years with the Great Britain squad, your life was completely controlled, particularly with the run up to summer events. Generally, rowing has 2 seasons. The winter season, that's from August until probably February, March. That's the winter season where you do long distances. So that could be anything from up to, 5K races, long distance. And then the summer competing from April until September is very much 2,000 meters. So during the summer time, that was when it was particularly controlled. So I think from that, whenever anybody says they've taken sport seriously, I always sort of appreciate and can empathise that actually they've had to give an awful lot up in order to gain that success that they've got. I didn't have a social life. I missed out on a lot of fun things. I missed out on holidays. I rarely saw my family because of training commitments. And eventually the school where I was at allowed me to work part-time in order to facilitate training. I think also one thing that we didn't have back in '92 was all the financial support. So my family wasn't able to support me. So I had to keep working in order to finance the training. So it was hard, but I think part of being a sportsman is to have that dogged determination and almost stubbornness to keep going. I think for the first time, something I remember very clearly was 3 years before the Olympics. For the first time in my life, I was directly told by my coach that I was not good enough. And I think sport does that to you, that actually you suddenly realize that you are not good enough. And you can either walk away and hide in a corner and cry, or you've got to get up, hold your head up high and get on and do something about it. So that's something that I learned through sport, is that actually there are various ways of dealing with failure, and also not being as good as you think you are, which is important. But anyway, after a lot of hard work, I was selected for the Barcelona Olympics. And it's interesting, Gautam, that your question was your success story as an Olympian. My Olympics were a complete failure, and I'll tell you why. So I was selected for the heavyweight women's rowing squad, heavyweight meaning more than 72 kilograms. And the sort of the intensity of it was really from April to August in '92. So we had 2 weeks in Switzerland at altitude, and for some reason my body works really well at altitude, and hence that's why I do a lot of high altitude trekking and climbing when I can. So we had 2 weeks training in Switzerland. We then went home for a week, and we had 2 weeks in Italy training because the weather and the sunshine and the conditions were very similar to Barcelona and where we were racing. And then we went to Barcelona, and I was due to be in the women's 8, and I raced in the heat. Everything went really well, and we got through to the next round. But in the Olympic Village, there were huge, big freezers of Magnum ice creams because Barcelona were promoting Magnum ice creams for the first time. And there were freezers in the Olympic Village along the pavements with Magnums in it. And when we arrived there, we were allowed 1 or 2 Magnums, but then after that, we weren't allowed to eat them. Anyway, I must have chosen a Magnum that had melted and refrozen in the sunshine, and I became ill. And so actually, I ended up not competing in the final that I wanted to, but I was actually the spare person. So although I did race, I wasn't in the main crew. And for me, that's made my Olympics a complete failure because I did not control what I could have controlled. And, you know, a big part of, you know, my educational philosophy and my outlook on life now is that we've got to be in control of what we can control. And really our destiny in many ways is in our own hands. And that was a very stark lesson for me. So yes, it was a wonderful opportunity, and I learned a huge amount about myself. And the Olympics is an amazing sporting event in many respects. And it's a wonderful opportunity to be part of it. But what's interesting is because I felt I'd failed, I have packed all my spare kit, all the memorabilia, all the photographs, the complimentary medal in a box, and I've sealed it up, and it's been sealed like that for over 20 years and I don't want to open it in some respects because it's not a positive memory for me, and I've compartmentalized it, and it was part of my life, but actually I've moved on. I did want to carry on with rowing, but I couldn't afford to. There wasn't the sponsorship around. So after Barcelona, I had to give up rowing and go to work in order to live anyway. But but it's certainly a big part of me, and I haven't regretted it at all, but it wasn't a success. Thank you.
So that's unfortunate.
Thanks, Dr. Kat,
Nevertheless,
for
thank
sharing
you
that.
for that inspiring story.
Yeah, Gautam, I just wanted to add that, these were stories that none of us knew. And thanks to you for putting all these people on the panel. And these are, stories, personal stories the outside world never gets to know. I think, Dr. Carolyn, the sports person side of it comes out because, as a principal, you have been encouraging all young leaders and, the future leaders like Gautam to take action and proceed with what they're passionate about. So thanks for leading all the youngsters.
Nevertheless, ma'am, thank you for that inspiring story of yours. And I really think that passion can actually drive you. And you had also cited some sacrifices that you made. It's truly an admirable takeaway from your speech and can really overcome your challenges. Thank you, ma'am. And moving on to Miss Anju Bobby George and Mr. Robert Bobby George. We are so fortunate to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Gautam. Thank you, Gautam.
Yeah, Gautam, we can continue. As they're talking, the video will keep playing, so you can just
Yes,
continue.
no worries. So, ma'am, I'm just curious to know, like, when did you realize that your event is long jump? Because The general trend is that most athletes choose running. Could you please explain a bit on that?
Yeah, Gautam. Actually, I started my athletic career at the age of I can say around 5, because my parents actually it was their observation that I am something different. I'm something different. I am doing something different from other kids. So I started my training. Maybe I can say that with a coach when I was in the fourth standard. So from there till now, I am following the same routine and I am doing the same things in my life. So when I started, I was not a long jump. I was all round. I was doing 10-meter running, 20-meter running, then long jump, high jump. Then in later stages, I was doing hurdles, high jump, heptathlon. Then when I came to the national camp, then I started concentrating in long jump and triple jump. Till then, I was a heptathlete, and I can say that I was an all rounder. So actually, my body, my height, and my muscle is good for long jump and triple jump. Triple jump again, it's an injuries event, so I was always trying to avoid that event. Um, so it was like actually the coach, Mr. TP Ausep, who initiated me in long jump. And I can say that it was a right choice from his side because I could reach up to the world stage and I could win a medal from the world stage. So I actually nowadays the studies are showing that at very young age you cannot specialize in one event. You have to experience all the events, and then later stages you can stick in one event. So I was doing the same thing when I reached Bobby George. Actually, he polished from a national champion to a world beater. So that was actually the wonderful thing which happened in my life. With him, we achieved a lot for our mother country, for our India. We got our first medal from the world stage. So I can say that I was fortunate enough because I could choose my correct event, I could choose my good coach, and I could reach up to the world stage.
That's great, ma'am. And true, it's very nice to hear. And we definitely need to thank your coach for making that right decision. And, ma'am, from that video, actually, that was a huge jump. So, that was the world championship medal winning jump, wasn't it? So, could you
Yes.
please recollect that moment?
Yeah, actually, the 2003 World Championship, that was my first World Championship. And that year, we actually trained in US for 2 months with world record holder Mike Paul. And from there, actually, I got a good opportunity to compete with the top athletes. I got the opportunity to compete in the Grand Prix competitions. And actually, at the last event, I was not feeling well, and with the fatigue, my body was not moving at all. So actually, I told Bobby that I am not able to do anything, so I have to come back to India, and I am skipping this event. But somehow he managed me very well, and after 20 days, actually, I don't know what he did. He did something, I don't know, some magic. And it worked really well. And I came back to my normal stage, like in my peak. So one day before the World Championship, he told me that tomorrow is going to be a great day in your life. We are going to win the medal. I was wondering how he can say that, but actually he showed me that in a paper. So he rounded some names and he told me that first round you just check all these six athletes and you will be one among them. I did. I was there. The next day, he rounded three, and I was again. My name was there in that list. So actually, the finals. Actually, it was not a clean. I can say that something went wrong because in my fourth jump, I jumped almost 7 meters. I can say that it was a 7 meter plus jump. But one raised the white flag and the next one raised the red flag, and they told me that it's 2 millimeter foul. So, I was just in a very bad stage. I don't know what to do, and I was just because it was a huge jump. When I went for the fifth jump, my check mark was not there. Someone has taken away my check mark, and I was blindly running from somewhere. So in between, I had some issues in my approach, and I couldn't take off well in that jump. You can feel that. You can see that I was not happy with that jump because I landed in like before where I needed to go. So it was. I thought it's not a good jump. So I was completely disappointed, and I did something, and then I realized it's a 670 jump, and it's a medal winning jump. So I can say that actually, even though I got a world championship medal, a bronze medal, that was not. Uh, Actually, I can say that still I was not satisfied with that because I had the capacity to do much beyond that jump. But still, I'm really happy that I could end up with India's first ever medal. So I'm happy.
That's very nice to hear of you, ma'am. And despite the series of unfortunate events that took place in your run up itself, but still you pulled off such a great jump actually. And hats off to you and hats off to Mr. Bobby. And just a question to you, ma'am. With so much success as an elite sportswoman, can you tell us a little bit about the sacrifices that you made to achieve these laurels?
I can't say that it's sacrifice because if you do something you're passionate about, then what all you are doing for that, it's from a heart. So we cannot call it as a sacrifice. Of course, from childhood, from till now, we are completely into sports. We are always in like under the sun. We are doing a lot of training. We are missing our parents. We are missing our school friends. Even the school we missed. Even colleges we missed. So missed a lot of things. I can say that it's missing, but I cannot say that it's sacrifice. So actually, if we need to achieve something in your life, you have to do that. It's nothing it will easily come into your way. So it's not only in sports, in any field, you have to do something big. You need to sacrifice. You can say that sacrifice now. So don't think that you are sacrificing something in your life. Just enjoy it. What all you are doing, do it with your heart, and you just enjoy.
True, ma'am. You can't call anything that comes from your heart as a sacrifice, right? And thank you so much. And moving to Mr. Bobby. So, Mr. Bobby, as an ace coach and mentor, what is your inspiration to devote your life to help the and your career to help the next generation of Olympians?
Gautam, I had a long career like as an athlete and coach. I joined the national camp in the year 1987 as a decathlete, and I went up to 2000. I did my engineering in between, so I took a break about 3 to 4 years. So I have nothing to boast, boast about my achievements, what Anju is talking about, because I never had a coach like what Anju has got, So I got a major injury from decathlon to in 1992. I shifted to triple jump, and I became national champion. And in 1996, I got a severe knee injury. So that was almost the end of my career. But I underwent a surgery like an anterior cruciate ligament replacement and multiple injury along with that. But I managed to come out with a strict this rehabilitation protocol. Then I met Anju during that year. But later in 1998, I started coaching Anju. It's a taboo, like, we were not married at that time. Somebody, not being a coach, just being an athlete, training another athlete in the national camp. But there are a lot of people to support, like the Athletic Federation of India Secretary Lalit Banot and the Tamil Nadu Athletic Federation President W.I. Devaram, sir. They were all supported me, and surprisingly, in 1999, Anju break the national record, long jump national record, for the first time. And in 2000, before our marriage, she qualified for the Olympic, Sydney Olympics. But it was another story, like, it was unfortunate due to an ankle injury, she could not participate in the Sydney Olympics, and later in 2001 World Championship as well. So the story is like a Shah Rukh Khan, Bollywood movie, like, the struggle and coming out and tasting success. But there was not much music and dance in between. That's the only difference. And 2003 World Championship was, like the most memorable moment. And I think that was my effort was there, Anju's effort was there. But more than that, I think it's a culmination of dreams and efforts of millions and billions of Indians who have lived and died in this country. And 2004 there was the Olympic Games, and it was a bad luck for India due to some conspiracy at the international level. And you must be heard about this Russian doping mafia and this. And it's very unfortunate that International Athletic Federation president was involved in that, and he lately arrested for that case, and is convicted for 2 years. And it's a very sad issue. Otherwise, India would have been winning a world medal, along with the world medal and Olympic medal by now. And now taking it forward, like, I think we have a space to occupy in Indian athletics. There is some space left for us. Only me or Anju can occupy. We are the pioneers. Like, I was from nowhere. I took India to the world, athletic match, and see, it's a like it's not a sacrifice. I've started training Anju in 1998. The transition was very smooth. I retired in 2000. Everybody says that the retirement is a very, very sad moment in anybody's life, any athlete's life. All things in the evening go fly rapturous and ecstatic, and to then fall to the ground and they say. But in my case, the transition was very smooth. I've taken over and I'm just training, and I was trying to fulfill all my dreams, in my career through Anju's success.
Thank you, Mr. Bobby. Your commitment and your devotion is actually evident from what you say. And just a last question for you was that when I visited your academy in Bangalore, I think it was last year, I had the opportunity to meet all the athletes you were coaching. And I realized that one of the athletes and most of the athletes were actually national and state level players. And even one of them, Shaili Singh, was ranked third in the world in her category. So, how do you select these talents? That's my question for you.
For an expert coach, it is very easy to identify the spark in the athlete, like a talent is easy. You might have seen only them physically. Coaching is a very complex process. So it's a character building process, physical, psychological, emotional, and social character building process. You might not have seen the other, just by observing the athlete, you will not be able to understand that. So the thing is that, we take a lot of time, like it is other than training, there's a mentoring, recovery is a part of that, rehab is a part of that, and psychologically we are making ready our athletes to become champions of tomorrow. A lot of effort going there, like whatever you are achieving the training performance, you have to convert into a medal in a major championship. That is a challenging part. And what is life without challenge? We enjoy that. And I believe that leading this coaching program, what is the basic quality you need in a coach? Like, I would like to say that it's a soul and spirit which is capable of compassion, sacrifice, and endurance. That's what we are offering in our academy.
Thank you, Mr. Bobby. Compassion, sacrifice, true. And coaching is also a very complex process. I agree with you. And mentoring and even converting your hard work you're putting into a medal. That's great. And moving on to Mr. Ronnie Sehgal, he's an influential sports person in Bangalore who has brought many innovative ideas to the country in the field of sports. Over to you, Mr. Ronnie.
Hey, Gautam, first of all, congratulations on putting this wonderful panel together. It's so inspiring for me to listen to Miss Caroline, Anju, and Bobby. This is the real deal, in my opinion. These are successful people in sport, and I'm getting to learn so much today from them. So, first of all, I think it's a great opportunity for the young generation to listen to this today. India, of course, from an Indian perspective, due to our population and the hunger that we have to succeed, I think sports is definitely a very important part of all of us. From the time you're small till somebody like me who's mid-age today, and then we see the elder people, the senior citizens. You'll find that they still play today. So sports per se is a very important part of everybody's life, and we are super excited that you're doing something to promote sports here right now.
Thank you, sir. And truly, sports does not have an age, and it's an extremely and integral part of our lives. So, just a question for you, and being an athlete yourself and successfully managing a sports outfit, what is your opinion on the future of Indian athletes in the current Olympic scenario?
So that's a good question. If you ask me this 10 years ago or 10 years later, my answer would still be the same, that the future is very bright. We have to think that way because we've been part of various training programs, working with kids of all ages. And what we have seen is that a child, an aspirational athlete, is only going to do what he believes. So as a coach, as a mentor, as a promoter, if you're feeding in the right information to the children, if you're telling them that they can do it, you can be rest assured that you'll get better results than demotivating them from growing in a sport. So definitely the future for the Indian athletes is super bright. There is so much going on right now with sports in India, like how Bobby has mentioned that, in the athletics field, there is a huge scope for different areas where the kids can perform. And Indians are nowhere behind any of the others. We have the potential to do it. We are doing it. The results have been increasing. As you see in the last 4 or 5 Olympics, Indians are doing better. So I think the potential is very high. And we have to just focus more. We need a bigger plan and more commitment, and the results are just going to show for itself.
Thank you, sir, for those motivating words of yours. And this is really innovative what you brought up, the technological advancements and the opportunities that all the Indians are now getting. So this will definitely be an eye opener for all the sports authorities as well as the youngsters. And another question for you, sir, is with the addition of new and emerging sports into the Olympics, what do you think is going to be the impact on the younger Indian generation?
So Indian generation, the younger generation across the world, I think they're all grabbing the attention of the new sports that are being introduced and have been introduced to the Olympics. Football and many other sports which already are so large and the competition is so high. And it makes it very difficult for kids or players sometimes to make it to the national team because of so many reasons which both our Olympians here can tell you. The amount of competition, the positives are the competition and the hard work, but there are negatives also like the politics. So because of many different reasons, people are left behind, they can't achieve what they want to do. But with the new sports, for example, you have under cycling, you have BMX, you have skateboarding, you have surfing, you have paddle. So these are sports that, leaving paddle, but cycling and skateboarding, I'm sure, Gautam, you have a bicycle and a skateboard in your house, and your friends have the same. So just the introduction of such sports into the Olympics sends a big message that the Olympic Committee understands that they need to do something for the youth, for the new generation, to get their attention. The sport is not just for the old timers. So that's why there are these new sports, and I believe that the impact of this in India and across the world is huge, because since they introduced BMX cycling, it's unbelievable how the so-called, the outcast kids who are always out in the parks and doing tricks today, they are an Olympic athlete. And that's huge for the sport. It's huge for the community. It's huge for the belief of people that just because you're not, super fast in doing a 100-meter sprint, and you're good at cycling. And would you have ever imagined that doing tricks on the stage or in the park can actually get you into the Olympic podium? So it's really unbelievable, I think, the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Truly, the opportunities are everywhere. You just have to look around and you are in the Olympics. And just looking in the hindsight, as the Olympics has been postponed due to this pandemic, what do you think is the impact on the players who actually work tirelessly just to see that day?
Well, first of all, I think it's really sad what has happened, right? Because players, we have two great Olympians here, and they know the effort it goes in. I've only seen the effort that people put. Um, but definitely, there was a lot of depression for the athletes when they knew that it's not going to happen this year. But the good news is that it's happening next year. So that the positive is that they get time. They get time to prepare further. Secondly, there are natural things like COVID. We have no control, and I think that's just life. Even if you're best prepared, like how Miss Caroline said that, she was there and she still couldn't go the last mile with the finals because of something that happened in the middle. And I would never have imagined it would be an ice cream. So it's unbelievable the kind of things that happen in this world, and we just need to put up with it, get ourselves together, and just keep moving forward. So I think most of the people I've spoken to who are going to the Olympics that I know, they're all just trying to stay positive. They're trying to stay positive. Yeah, Gautam.
Thank you, sir. Truly, those words are inspiring. And moving on to round two. So, Dr. Caroline, being an
before you jump into the next set of questions, I thought everyone's answered. Why don't you talk a little bit now? So Gautam, you've been working on a project on sports as part of Future Leaders, and I know about it. Why don't you tell us all about what was the inspiration behind this, and what are you doing through your project?
Yes, sir. So the moment I was assigned a project to do, I knew that I wanted to do it on sports. But to reach into this idea, it really took a lot of brainstorming. Because of this pandemic session, I had to do most of my projects online. So that really cut out most of the projects I really wish to do in the future. And because I'm so passionate about sports and I've been playing different sports from the age of 5. So, and I've been playing tennis especially for the past 5 years. So, what exactly inspired me was my genuine love for sports. So, that's exactly, and the reason I selected this project because I felt I could do something about this, and everybody really needs to get this breakthrough. And that's why I actually took it up.
And what exactly do you do through your project? If you can just tell us a little in short.
Yes, sir. So I aim to motivate everyone, not just people, especially people in my age category as well, because the COVID pandemic has affected everyone. So I just want them to be safe, not to take it so harshly, because everyone's going through the situation, not only them. So just giving them some wise words from professionals, so maybe that could actually help them out. So that's what my project is actually impacting.
Wow, wonderful. Great to hear that, Gautam. An excellent initiative. And if you were to share, what's your big vision through this project?
Yes, so like I would like to continue this journey and do more sessions like this and under the brand Team Me Up itself. And I hope I can do more sessions with the support of 1on1B. And now when we hear from legends like Anju Bobby George and Mr. Bobby, so I just would like to see in the long run how my project Team Me Up could associate with them and help achieve the sports dream of the young talents.
Wow, that's truly inspirational, Gautam. At such a young age, you're doing something not just for yourself but for others. And I can assure you that you'll always have the support of 1on1B. And wishing you all the best for Team Me Up ahead. So, Gautam, would you want to take a couple of questions from the audience? I think there are a few of them. I can probably
Yes, sure.
just one or two. So, one is, I think, to Ms. Anju. Question is, you represented India on a global scale, global stage, and so many events. A lot of disappointments as well. Representing India. How did you manage all this pressure? We have the situation where our students are finding it difficult in this pressure cooker situation of exam, but the pressure you dealt with is unbelievable. How did you deal with it?
Yeah, actually, as an athlete, I am trained for this from my childhood because when we start a competition, we are training how to manage victory as well as the losing. So it's a slow and steady process. It's not that all of a sudden we are learning something like failures. So I can say that in today's world, kids actually need to learn that how to face failures because nowadays even the 10th standard kids or even college kids actually if they fail in exam they are thinking that their life is ending and everything is gone, so they are committing suicide. Actually it's not that you have got enough things to do in your life and still you have to do a lot more for your society or for your family. So don't do that because it's not the end of your life. So you can imagine if you win 10th grade in state level or national level, it's a huge thing for you. But actually, we are competing against the world. We are competing against 210 countries and only for 3 medals. So actually for a normal person, it's beyond their imagination how we are how much pressure we are handling and how we are overcome or we are doing all these things because see if you are representing your country, see how much pressure is on your shoulders. And even in 2004 Olympics, actually I was a medal contender and the entire India was waiting for a medal from me. So you can imagine what was my situation, but still I have to handle this and I have to learn how to handle this. So it's not that all of a sudden it's happening. From years of training it's gradually coming.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Ms. Anju. Truly a wonderful answer. And like you said, the amount of pressure you undergo through, if all students could actually, imbibe these sportsmanship and sports person's values and handle pressure, there's always something good to look forward to in life. It's not just about that exam. Thanks for sharing that. The next question is from Manav, and probably Mr. Bobby and Ron, you both can answer this. The COVID, of course, has created a lot of issues and a lot of, sports not happening. And along with that, any sports person, for example, like Ms. Anju and Dr. Caroline, would have had a lot of failures rather than the success. There'll be 100 failures and that one success. But during these difficult times and during these failures, how do you keep the athletes motivated and keep their fitness on, keep them motivated so that there's always going to be another chance? How do you do that?
I think Bobby should answer that.
Yeah, Mr. Matthew, this is COVID is an eye opener. Like that the importance of fitness and hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes,
It's
sir,
the
we can hear
importance
you.
of fitness. People are realizing the importance of fitness, and they have to spend more time and focus to fitness and sports right now. I have 14 athletes right now, and they are in all their respective places. But I'm giving my training schedule every day, and I'm monitoring that, and I'm interacting with them on a daily basis, and I make them focused and keep them motivated. So their competition may start after 4 or 5 months later, and their training is about to start in a month of time in Bangalore. So this is it's a different situation that we have never faced it, and they are managing their fitness in a like a 10 by 10 room or in a paddy field or something.
Right. Thanks for sharing that answer. Um, yeah, Gautam, over to you. We'll continue with your questions.
Okay, sir, thank you. And we'll begin with round two. So, question for Dr. Caroline. So, Dr. Caroline, being an Olympian and now the principal of such a renowned institution, what is your advice on balancing sports as well as academics in the younger generations?
A very good question. Thank you, Gautam. And it always frustrates me that when there are academic deadlines or examinations, sport is quite often, or generally interests such as music and other activities, it always goes out the window because of academic pressure. And I believe, as Ronnie said, that sport and physical activity have to be embedded into your life, and it should be embedded in your life. So I think it's hugely important. And I've got 5 top tips for maintaining a balance between academic or work commitments and physical activity. My first one comes from, I think everybody should, particularly if you're competing at a sport and you want to maintain that alongside academic or work commitments, I always think it comes down to the motivation of why you're doing the sport. And I think it's important to think about that. You know, are you doing it just because your parents are forcing you to play tennis and they want you to play tennis? Or are you doing it for yourself? Because I think if you understand your motivations, then it's easier for you to sustain and keep up the commitment. I mean, my motivations were that I was trying to prove to myself that I could do something. I was trying to prove my parents wrong. I was good at it, and I think it's always good to do something that you're good at because it makes you feel happy and motivated. So I would say, first of all, think about your motivations for wanting to do sport or wanting to get up early in the morning to do yoga. Why do you want to do it? And I think if you understand that, then you'll be able to sustain it. I also think planning is really important. We all have busy lives, but actually physical activity doesn't need to take a long amount of time. And actually research shows now that 20, 30 minutes a day is more than enough. No longer do you have to train the sort of 2-3 hours that I used to in the 80s and 90s. But I think planning, and I think we all say, oh, we haven't got enough time to do things. But actually, if we sit back and plan our days and plan our routine, particularly as we are in this virtual environment at the moment, it's surprising how much time we can find in our day to fit in some physical activity and sport. So that's my second tip. My third tip is to set a goal. Now, this might be just me, but I really like setting goals. I'm a very goal-driven person. And when the lockdown started, I went to the sports pavilion and I walked up steps. And then a friend of mine said, look, why don't we walk the equivalent of Everest, walking up the steps? So I've done that. And I'm now on to, how many sit-ups I can do in 5 minutes, those sort of type of goals. And I think if you set goals for yourself, then it does keep up the motivation. And again, it doesn't need to be a long amount of time. I think my fourth tip, and this is sort of following on from the question that was presented to Andrew, I was trained, it was called visualization then, but I think it's called now mindfulness, where actually before a race, in order to cope with the pressure of competing and to, in a way, block out all the other pressures of life, we were told to visualize. So you visualize the race, you go through your racing strategy, and you learn to block out all the other distractions. And I use that all the time now. And because when I am working, I'm not thinking about something else. When I'm training, I allow myself only to think about training. I'm not worrying about about marking stuff or writing a paper. When I go to sleep, I sleep. And I think, because I've got quite a compartmentalized life, which may not suit everybody, but I think nowadays what happens is our life is so full of stuff that in order for students to concentrate on academics, they need to drop all the other stuff that's going on in their life. Sport does allow you to do that. If you play sport or do sport or train, and you train yourself just to focus on that physical activity, you'll then get used to just focusing on your academics or on, your other parts of your life. And to me, that is quite a really good way of getting rid of anxiety, getting rid of nerves, getting rid of worry, and making sure that you just focus on what you have to do. And finally, my fifth top tip is something that I feel is so important now, is that sport in your daily life helps you to sleep, eat, and look after yourself properly. And you know, sleeping, I don't sleep if I don't train, and so it's important to you know, train your body and get the best out of your sleep, to make sport part of your daily routine. And also it's about finding your rhythm and what's the best time to do sport. I'm a morning person, so I prefer to do things in the morning rather than sort of in the evening or late at night. So I think sport is very good at helping you to get enough sleep. Of course, it helps you to balance your diet and, importantly, to drink water. I think it's important that we use sport in that way, because eating and sleeping properly also helps your academic. And finally, I think just generally looking after yourself. I think sport gives you, well, certainly enjoyment, and many people enjoyment, and I think it can be seen as a little treat, particularly if you've got academic pressures there with you, you know, to actually spend a bit of time on yourself, improving your fitness, or doing something that you really enjoy. It's important to look forward to those treats. And so anyway, those are my top 5 tips. I think it is doable, and I think it is really, really important for our mental health to maintain physical activity alongside the other pressures of our life.
Thank you, Dr. Caroline, for those top 5 tips, and I'm sure I will keep those with me in all my sporting endeavors. They've instilled a sense of enthusiasm in me, and I'm sure in the others as well. Sports have to be embedded in our lives. I truly agree with you, ma'am. And also, your PE sessions can't get much better. And just since we're running short of time, we'll just ask a question each to all the panelists. So, moving on to Miss Anju Bobby George. So, ma'am, could you like share the little secret that we would all like to know? And that was on how much did Mr. Bobby influence you in your career achievements as a coach?
Okay, so you all know he's my husband, and always the being with a husband, it's not good, no? Even private life and your public life. So he was monitoring me everywhere, what I'm eating, what I'm drinking, what I'm doing, how I'm sleeping or not, I'm doing so, I'm moving. So he was always with me, and I was not like. But still, as a coach, I can say that it was very good, because you can imagine how much amount we are spending before my medal and after my medal for Olympic medal or for World Championship medal, but it's not happening. But he did that. So that is his capacity, and that is his passion about sports. So he's a mechanical engineer, but still he is working for our younger generation. He's working as a coach in the bottom level. So see, actually, I can say that he is the best coach India ever produced, because uh, his knowledge and his wisdom, and actually I can say that he's a visionary, and he can predict things much better than anyone else. Even in sports field, he can anticipate things, and he learned things very fast, because every year the technique and sports field is changing a lot, and he is able to cope up with that. He's able to learn things very fast. I can say that sports is science, and he knows what the science behind sports. So actually, as I said, he's the best coach I could ever get, and I am very fortunate enough that I could actually manage up to his expectation, and I reach up to the world stage. So I can say that still again one more time, he's the best ever coach India produced.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for those wise words of yours on Mr. Bobby. And I have another question for Mr. Bobby itself. And so, with your vast experience of working with many top athletes, like how Miss Anju had mentioned earlier, so could you throw some light on what is the difference between an average performer and a winner?
We are, like changing, ordinary athlete to extraordinary athlete. So we are making, ordinary athlete to champions, the global to beat us. It's always challenging. I told you earlier, like in athletics, especially, like we always try to push athlete behind their physical barriers. So you should have a better understanding about the threshold loads or the RPA, rate of perceived exertion and the well-being and psychology of the athletes. So it's a very complex process. But very young age, with constant we say that 10 years of continuous systematic training you need to make an Olympian or Olympic champion, or 10,000 hours of training, intensive training you require. It's a very long process. So usually it takes 1 or 2 years to understand an athlete. And there is a stage when we can, communicate that athlete, that special athlete with, at the same wavelength. Once you have achieved that speed, it's very easy that we can think together, we can dream together, and we can work together, and we can win together.
Thank you, Mr. Bobby, for giving us a deeper insight on the instinct of what a coach actually does. And um, thank you so much about what you said. And finally, moving on to Mr. Ronnie. So historically, performing well at the Olympics or being an elite athlete requires you to be really fit, strong, or tall like the Germans or the Russians. So, how does the addition of new skill sports give an opportunity to the Indian athletes who dream to perform at the world level?
Ronnie, you're muted. Yeah.
Yes, my bad. Good question, Gautam. You've researched things pretty well, it looks like. Um, Indians, yes, of course, we are very different. You can't have an Indian get into the large categories of sports. As you've seen the results, we are not up there with basketball. There's a reason for that. We're not up there with multiple other sports, but all five fingers are not equal for a reason. We are very good at a few things, many things. Of course, running is one of them. We've seen results over a period of time. Looking at the new sports that have come in, like cycling, India has got a big history with endurance cycling. They're wonderful cyclists. If you go across the country, you will also notice that India is the number one producer of the maximum number of cycles in a year, which shows that you have a lot of people using it, which is the first step to getting into something. If you look at a sport like paddle is a mixture of tennis and squash. And if you're good in tennis, if you're good at doubles in tennis, you will be good at paddle as well. And if you look at history, Indian history, the best tennis doubles players are from India. Whether you take Leander Pace, you take Mahesh Bhupati, or today you take Rohan, they're all like number one in the world at some point of time. So there is opportunity, a huge opportunity for the Indians in the new sport as well as the old sport. But like our Olympians today have spoken, the secret of success is the same for anything. You need to have the discipline, the commitment, respect for your coach, respect for yourself. Of course, your parents have to encourage you, and vice versa. So I think the opportunity with the new sports that we have is tremendous for the Indians. It gives us a chance to dream bigger, and I think we should take full advantage of it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, from your speech. It really looks like India has the possibility to get the medals in the next Olympics. And with this, we would like to conclude the session. And thank you, everybody, for. Yes, sir.
I'll take one or two questions. I think we have one question is probably for Ms. Anju and Mr. Bobby. The question from Parag, which asks, as retired Indian athletes and the first and only world champion in athletics in long jump, how are you contributing to your specialty long jump and helping to, to cultivate the next generation of sportsmen? What are you doing through your foundation?
Yeah, actually, me and Gopi together we started Anju Gopi Sports Foundation. It's in Bangalore. We selected 13 young women talents from all over the country. It's and they actually for 1.5 years they are with us. So one small girl of just 14, 15 years, she is girl number 2 in her age category, and there are others also almost at her caliber. So actually, we for them actually we are starting from where we stopped. So it's easy for them to cope up with our training or our expectations. And actually, we struggled a lot when we were young because no one was there to teach us the correct way how we could reach up to the world stage or for showing us the path. But for our athletes, it's easy because we are there to show them how to reach up to the world stage. And as an athlete, I have enough experience from the world stage, and as a coach, Bobby is having enough experience because the two things are different. So together, actually, I think we can do wonders, and we can deliver more Olympians or world championships from medals from our academy.
That's amazing, and thanks to both of you for nurturing the next generation of athletes from India. And I'm sure with your guidance, soon we'll have more gold medals coming towards India in World Championships and the Olympics. Thank you so much. Thank you to all the panelists for joining us today. It was wonderful having you. And Gautam,
Hi, Captain. I just wanted, to ask one question to all of the panelists, and maybe they can really make it quick, like a 30-second or literally a 1-minute response. In the context of the pandemic, what is to all the young people who are watching right now, I'm sure there are a lot of, some of them, of course, play sport, and some of them maybe don't, but it's still a part of their life. How does one sort of stay in touch? How does one cope with it? How do you keep your morale up? Since all of you play sport, you are the best in your literally, what you do, best in class. So what would you say to our young future leaders and other
And
young
adding on to
people?
Ms. Swati's point, could the panelists also give an advice to the aspiring athletes who are actually watching this session right now?
Okay, so for our young generation, I can say that nothing is easy for them because now this is a competitive world and you have to really perform well to reach something or achieve something. So focused and just try to find out in which area you are good enough and try to polish that more. And if you are good enough in studies, do that. If you are good enough in some music or athletics or any other sport, do that and do it with passion. And so, always think that it's not only victory. There are other things also, like we may fall or we may miss, but still try until you succeed.
Okay, thank you. Dr.
Yeah,
Pascal?
I would say try and build it into your routine, into your daily routine. Try and build some training or physical activity into your daily routine and make it fun. I do an exercise routine with my sister who's in the UK. We get together and we do it and we have a laugh. And also going back to what I said about setting targets, set yourself a target. Look at maybe some of the skills that you need to focus on. I've been trying to work on my flexibility. It's always been something that isn't very good. But so break down the skills of whatever sport you do and work at it and just keep going, And I have a calendar as well that I mark off when I've done something. So it's very visible because I'm motivated by those little things. Okay, but I think it's just keeping going.
Right. Okay. So set a target and make it fun. And I have a sister too. I think I should listen to that advice and start some online sessions with her and, start having fun with her and not make it this boring thing that we, sort of run away from exercise that we say. Okay. Mr. Bobby George, what would you like to say to our young
maintain your fitness,
future leaders?
but don't try to overdo training that will reduce your immunity. It's a COVID time, that may reduce your immunity.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm holding my dreams close to my heart. Because Olympics medal was a dream for us. It was a dream, and see it was, and it shall be a dream for the years to come. And I'm chasing my dreams even in pandemic times, and I'm hoping something big from my athletes in the coming years, 2024 and Olympics beyond.
All right. So keep the dream alive. That's really interesting and quite inspiring.
Yeah, so
Mr. Sehgal?
it's excellent. I'd like to give you a perspective after pandemic, what we've personally seen. It's a great opportunity for kids to play with their parents right now. Because of the situation, you really cannot go out too much. It's a great time to pick a new sport. It's a great time to watch a lot of sport together because, as a family, we've been doing a lot of this, and I never knew how effective. And of course, we knew how effective, but when you have no choice and you're doing it like for double or triple the time, it's just a great connection between parents and kids, and you get to know so much about each other. So you can really use this time very well to find a new sport, get your parents involved in it, get your family involved in it, and just take advantage of the situation we are in right now. Make the best of it. Thank you.
That's true. That's true. Thanks so much. And on that note, I actually, after like some 20 years, went with my son and played basketball, 2 weeks ago. I didn't even had forgotten how to dribble, in fact. So that's really, an interesting take. And I think all of us should get back to sports and play it with our family. So yeah. All right. Gautam,
Thank you,
over to
ma'am.
Yes,
And with this, I would like to end the session. And thank you, everybody, for attending this event. It was really a fruitful session, and we got insights of sport from 4 different perspectives: the importance of sports in life and how one needs to balance education as well as sports. Another angle in sports is its highest achievement as a world champion. Another in how champions are actually created, and also, we heard about the sporting events are for everyone. You just have to look around, and there you are. And I would like to thank Dr. Caroline, Miss Anju Bobby George, Mr. Robert Bobby George, and Mr. Ronnie for their kind and inspiring words. I would like to thank 101B for giving me this opportunity, especially Mr. Manav, Mr. Safin, and Miss Swati for their all round support in making this webinar possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gautam. All the best.
Thank you, sir.
Good luck.
Right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.